a basketball player for 2 years in high school before I realized I wasn't growing very much anymore. And I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of hard. Say like, hey, sit down. I want to show you an Instagram reel. They're like, what? What? Right?
What is it?
Yeah, what is it? You fail most likely 7 out of 10 times you come to the plate. Like, that's humbling.
Well, welcome to the Athletes in Sports podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Mike Welch. He's the tournament director at the 3M Open. Mike, we met you back when you worked for the Timberwolves, and what was that transition from being with an NBA team going into the professional golf world?
Oh man, I mean, it was a lot. I would say that it was two reasons why I made the switch, Max. Number one, from a professional standpoint, it gave me the chance to spread my wings a little bit from a professional standpoint and sort of be the leader of the entire organization and not just the corporate partnerships department at the Timberwolves and Lynx. And so professionally, it got me out of my comfort zone a little bit and made me very uncomfortable. And that was, 6 years now, which
crazy.
Seems like, just a short time ago. And it's been amazing. Professionally, it's been very challenging, but very rewarding as well. And secondly, there was a personal choice there too. As you guys well know from being involved in sports, that the life of a sports executive is very time consuming away from your family. For me, it was 41 home games for the Minnesota Timberwolves, 17 for the Minnesota Lynx, 58 plus nights, not including corporate partnership trips that took me away from my wife and my 4 boys. And at the time that I made the change, my oldest was 14 years old and my youngest was 6 years old. And, I just knew that these were going to be really important years. And so we live in Blaine. Obviously, the tournament is based out of Blaine. I live 2 minutes from the course. And so it just gave me a chance to spend more time with my family. And I think, for the most part, my wife has been really appreciative of that. I've been able to do things like let the dog out at lunch when she's working, or be able to go pick up one of the kiddos from school if they're sick or they have something that they have to be run to. And that's been a blessing for our family in order for us to just, I think, spend more meaningful time in what I would say are pretty formative years for them.
Yeah, so you have 4 boys, right?
I do.
All of them play sports?
They all play sports.
How do you juggle the schedules?
We are coming out of it, Bridget. Like it is starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But there was a time, and I would say it was right around that time, where I was leaving the Timberwolves and going to the 3M Open, where we had an 8th grader down to a 2nd grader. And you guys know youth sports. It's crazy. And so it truly was, the old adage of like ships passing in the night, where I would have to leave Target Center at 4:17 to get home by 5:01, grab some food, get one of the kids or both 2 kids, get one to a practice, coach one in a game, see my wife and the other 2 kids at 9:30 when we got home, and then get up and do it all over again. I'll also say that I wouldn't trade it for the world, right? Like it is somebody who's, been an athlete my entire life and believes in just even more than the physical aspect of being an athlete, more the mental and just the time management that I love so much. It opened up new doors for us as a family, and I think opened up doors for our kiddos to just see what the true value of sports was.
And are all your kids playing the same sports? Are they into different things? And then what sports did you coach them or are coaching them?
Yeah, so all 4 of my boys have played football, baseball, and basketball. I was a baseball guy. I grew up playing high school and college. I played basketball for a couple of years, never football. I was a wimp, like I didn't.
I didn't play football. No
I
way.
mean, like some men and women are blessed with genetics. Some, Max, are blessed with genetics like you and I have, right? and it was not meant to be on the football field. It was meant to be in the baseball field or the basketball court or the golf course or wherever, hockey rink. And so they all play basketball, baseball, football. A couple have been in and out of football, but they've all played basketball and baseball. And they've also, as you can imagine, gotten into golf over the last 5 years. And in fact, my senior, who I always thought was going to play college basketball or college football or baseball because he's a gifted athlete, is most likely not going to do any of that. And I think go to either Nebraska or Florida Gulf Coast University to be part of that PG management school to do, to get into the world of golf. And it just is awesome because I think it's a wonderful program. But to not play sport and then B, to go into a golf specific sort of school has been a revelation for us. But, it's obviously still in sports because that's what we do.
Do you think the exposure now in your role has played an impact on his interest in exploring golf more?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think that we always played the game, and we still play it the same way. They just have gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think that what I hope for them is that they see the value of what golf does. And you guys know this better than anybody. Like, golf is the greatest connecting sport in the world. It brings together business and personal relationships and just fortifies them like no other sport that there is. And so my hope for them is that whatever happens, that they see the value of relationships in the game of golf. They would see it as they're getting a lot better. They think that they're going to be really good at golf. I don't think any of them thinks that they're going to be playing competitively because, as I'm sure you learned in your story with Carson or just talking to other people that are in that space, boy, you got to start early and you got to be really good and gifted at it, right? And so I think they want to be good enough where, when they go out with their friends, they're playing really well. If they're in the business community, they can get themselves around a course to foster those conversations. But I think seeing me in this role, meeting some of the players, having a chance to just consume what the 3M Open is every year, my oldest two want to get into sports. And I think if they landed in the golf space, that would be a dream for them, and I think it was fostered, every year when that tournament comes to town.
Now, has your game gotten better since you've been working in the golf industry?
It has, and then it hasn't. So like basketball, when you're working in basketball, you love it, you consume it. When you're just getting into it, and you play it, and then you work in it, and you're like, do I want to play basketball when all I do is think about basketball and sell basketball? Same thing has happened in golf a little bit. I have to think, I would guess I was probably like a 7 or an 8 handicap when I came in 2019. I got it down to like a 2 at one point, and now I'm back up to a 5. I turned 50 this past year. So it's true. The short game goes away a little bit. You can't chip like you used to. You certainly can't putt like you used to. And then I'll just say, working in golf and thinking about golf all the time and how we make the tournament better and how we get new sponsors and how we attract different fans, the release and the respite of going to a golf course is not there, especially when we're building during tournament time, because all it does is bring anxiety because I know that maybe we don't have that suite sold on hole 18. Right. And so I think I think that part has lapsed a little bit, but it's part of the gig. You totally get that. I will say though that my most precious moments during the summer are when I can go and play with my family for 9 holes, early in the summer or after the tournament is over, and the teardown is happening. Those are some really special moments.
So you said you were an athlete all growing up. When do you feel like you started to gain a passion? Was it somebody who introduced you to playing sports, or were you just always intrigued by it?
Yeah, my dad was a gymnast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all right. And his big commentary is that if he didn't meet my mom, he would have been in the Olympics. There's probably a little bit of, false to that.
You wouldn't be here if you didn't meet
That's
your mom,
exactly
right?
what I said.
Oh.
I said, thank God for meeting mom, right? And he was a big baseball guy. My grandpa was in AAA for the Cardinals. His twin brother played professionally for the Detroit Tigers. So baseball's always been a big sport for our family.
Yeah.
And so that's what drew me to the love of baseball. My dad played, sort of that professional beer league softball. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so I was really close to that. I was the bat boy. And then when I turned 18, I could be on his team. And so we played for a couple of years together. Obviously, I played baseball in high school and college. And so that love of baseball and sports just grew through that. I've always been fascinated with basketball. I think they're the best athletes in the world. I was, a basketball player for 2 years in high school before I realized I wasn't growing very much anymore. And I was like, this is going to be kind of hard. So I've always, just gravitated toward those two sports, but I've been a consumer of all sports. When I moved up here, I started to go to hockey games. Hockey's not big in Milwaukee. That's been amazing. Always
What
been a
brought
part
you
of golf. My wife, so she's from Elk River originally.
Okay.
We met at Winona State. So I came up for alumni weekend in 2000 to go back and be with friends. One of my best friends was engaged to one of her best friends, and they had each said to us, you got to come up, knowing that they wanted to introduce us. She was just graduating from Century College as a dental assistant and wanted to go to dental school. So she tried to get into Marquette University, which was ironic, which is where I'm from, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
She couldn't get in. So she actually went to be a dental hygienist at the U of M. And for 2.5 years, we commuted after we met in 2000, which I wouldn't recommend for anybody. Now it might be a little bit easier because of FaceTime and all that stuff.
Right.
Back then we didn't have that, right?
Yeah.
And so when she finished, we got married in 2003, lived there for 3 years in Milwaukee. And then when we had our first son, she said, I want to go back home. And I said, well, we are home. And she goes, no, my home. And I said, oh, your home. And Max, as you well know, we never win that argument. And here we are. And I will just say that we're so blessed that we're here. We've absolutely loved our time, and it has opened doors that we've never imagined for us. And so, yeah, from 2006 on, we've been here in the Twin Cities.
It's awesome.
What would you say, like just playing sports growing up, being a part of a sports family, what has translated into the business world from some of the lessons that you learned growing up, playing baseball and basketball? And
I would say the number one thing is perseverance. Like, you are going to fail in sports, right? In baseball, we use this analogy all the time. You fail most likely 7 out of 10 times you come to the plate. Like, that's humbling, right? And so when you are in the business world, my world for many years was the world of sales, what still is. But, if there's a lot that you can equate to that. You're going to probably win 3 out of every 10 pitches that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be okay with that. And by the way, that's a really good, percentage, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's really around chances and volume. So the more that you practice and the more reps you get, like in sports, you're going to be better in the business world. And the more opportunities that you get where you almost succeed, but you don't, what are you taking away from that to make you have success in that next opportunity? Mm-hmm. And I think you can do that in sports. In baseball, you can understand the pitch that came and what your swing was like and how you can be better next time. And the same thing when you do a pitch in business or anything in the business world. Why did you not win that business? Why did you not, gain that account? And what are you going to do differently next time? And I think that has been the biggest thing for me between the two loves of my life, which has been sports and business. There's just so much, synergy there around what the outcomes are, but it's that process of how you get to that outcome and what happened during that time. And I think if you're learning that, if you're in sports right now, if you're a young kid listening to this, like, it stinks when it happens. It's no fun to fail, but like, how are you taking that failure and turning it into success? It might not happen the next time, but it might happen 3 times from them. And then you just depend on coaches and parents and leaders to be able to communicate that to you so that can resonate and take that with you. And I think those are the things that you learn when you play sports and you take it into the business world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so with those 4 boys, obviously all being in different sports, I feel like today we live in a society where it's go, go, go. And if you're not in this AAA team or you're not making the A team at age 12, like, you're game over. How do you...
Why even play?
Yeah, right? And so we always share this stat for our foundation. They say 70% of kids drop out at age 12 from sports. Number one, it's, hey, I didn't make the A team, B team, I'm out. I don't want to play anymore. 2, it's way too competitive. Mm-hmm. Like, at this point, I just want to play. And then thirdly, it's too expensive. And so, we're trying to figure out ways, how can we keep kids excited and energized? And if you're 12 and still making the B team, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I just think we're continuing to be in this cycle of, you need more, you need to be better, you need to be better earlier, you need to specialize. Mm-hmm. Like, what type of advice would you give, I mean, as a parent walking through it right now?
Well, here's what I would say. I would say even more so than a parent, somebody who has run the Spring Lake Park Basketball Youth Organization for 11 years. My aha moment has come in the last 3 to 4 because, truth be told, even when I was running the organization, I was that parent where I was like, darn it, my kids better make the A team. We practice way too much for this to not happen. And now I look back on it and just laugh and think about how foolish that sounds, right? When it's your first or your second, you don't know anything else, right? You're so darn competitive, and like, you think that it's some type of reflection on you, but every kid is their own individual, and it's their own individual choice and their own gifts from God and whoever, that they're bestowed upon. I think there's been so many examples, not only in our system, but I'm sure in a ton of youth sports systems, of those kids that made the B or C team in basketball or hockey, or the single A team for baseball, that have risen to be a competitive high school athlete. And it comes through hard work and perseverance. I guess my advice to parents is, don't be that parent. I know that's so much easier said than done. I honestly think it's through experiences that you see that, and really around the network and the friend group that you're with, I think that you can realize who acts like that and who doesn't. My advice is like, I don't say that I'm fortunate or blessed that all of my kids have made the A team. That's just happened to be in our community. But if we were in a Wayzata or a Lakeville South or somewhere that's much larger than Spring Lake Park, that might have not been the case. And I hope that I could have said to them, like, hey, Liam, it's okay that you're on the B team for basketball. You're going to be one of the main focal points on this team, and it's going to be better off for you later on down the road. I think, wherever you land, there's a reason why you landed there. People like me and coaches who pour their volunteer time into that, 99% of them are in it for the right reasons. And there's a reason why Johnny or Sally was placed on this team. My advice is make the best of it, and then next year see where you're at, right? And the parents need to understand that too. It might hurt if your kid does not make the top team. I think, but you have to understand that there's a reason why they did that, and you should encourage them no matter where they're at. I also want to just touch on your comment around the expense of it all, right? I think what most youth organizations need to do, and I don't know how many are doing this, is make it as affordable for kids and families as possible. So go out and find as many sponsorships as you can, right? Go find as many clinics as you can for the coaches to put them in a better spot to coach these kids and do it the right way, right? Because if you are going to pay the money, make sure it's worth their while. So find alternative ways to help fund it, and then put the right people in place. And I think if you do those two things, you can keep costs down and you can make the experience enjoyable. I'm not sure if organizations are doing that as much as they should.
Hey listeners, we want to take a quick moment to tell you about the InSports Foundation. At InSports, we believe every kid deserves to play sports regardless of their financial situation. Our mission is to provide free camps, scholarships, and team sponsorships to reduce the cost of sports and get more kids in the game. Through sports, kids can learn valuable life lessons, stay active, and maintain their mental well-being. To support our mission and help give more kids a chance to play sports, visit insportsfoundation.org and consider making a donation today. Together, we can make a lasting impact.
And in most cases, it's most affordable for a parent to be a coach, and it sounds like you've done that for some of your kids. But maybe sometimes that parent coach might not be the right fit, and it would be better to have somebody paid, but it would cost more. But as a parent who's coached your own kids, what kind of advice would you give to other people in that situation to make sure that they're not, treating their kid any different than any of the other kids, or maybe there is something that you need to do different with your own kid? I've heard a lot of different advice on this.
Boy, I mean,
we're taking all this in, by the way.
We're in
the grassroots of all of this right now.
This is a tough question because, there are so many things that I would do differently for my own experiences of how I coached my kid, treated my kid, interacted with my kid. I will say that I hope that the kids that I coached that were not my kids said that I didn't favor my kid. It probably went the opposite way, to be perfectly honest with you, where I was probably just too tough on them. I think two of the things that the best piece of advice that I ever got around coaching your own kid is when you leave the practice or the game, boy, just try your hardest not to talk about it. Just don't talk about it. I know you want to. I know the kid expects you to. But, if you can just wait until later that evening or even better the next day, that is the route to go. If it didn't go well, the kid knows they messed up. Yeah. They know that they didn't play well. What do we need to do further than just let that go, right? And boy, I wish I could sit here and tell you that I adhered to that every single time, but I did not. And and I hate saying that, but it's just the reality. I think the really good coaches and the really good parents can separate that and get home and be like, buddy, I love you no matter what. It was a tough day, but hey, we're gonna get through it, And then conversely, when they do really well, my challenge is do the same thing, because they don't want to get into that car knowing how great that they did and want to hear everything, and at the same time the next weekend it doesn't go the same way. Just wait. You can give them a smile or not. I'm like, dude, that was pretty good. Yeah. But my point is again, treat the successes the same way that you treat the failures, and I think it's going to go a lot better for you. And there's been moments where we're laying in bed at night and I'm bawling because I hated the way that I treated him that day. And he's crying because he thinks I'm a complete jerk. And then the next day it's like, all good. Just wait till the next day, so I think that's the piece of advice that somebody at the Timberwolves gave me. And then the second piece is like, how do you bring as much fun into it as possible? And I know everybody says that. You have the parent meeting and the first thing the coach says is, my main goal is for our team to have fun this year. Mm-hmm. Great. I know everybody says that, and that is important. But like, you can say that, but you have to find ways to do it. So if you're coaching your kid and your practices are 90 minutes in length and you got a 5-minute warm up and you got 75 minutes of drills and you got 5 minutes of, in basketball, 5-on-5 or whatever it is in hockey, 4-on-4, and then you got 5 minutes of breakdown, that's not fun for the kids. Like, you have to find ways to make it fun and want them to keep coming back because they're going to stay in love with the game. And so I think as youth coaches, we get so involved in like, how is this kid improving? How do the parents think that I'm doing as a coach? Do they feel like they're getting their compensation or their, the money's worth for what they're paying? And that's important, but it's not the most important thing. It's like, how do we get these kids falling in love with the game and keep coming back year over year? The coaches and the parents that can achieve that are the ones that, show the success on the court, on the field, and off of it as well.
Yeah. I mean, you talked a lot about, resilience, and what other mental components do you bring in, as a dad to your kids or as a coach? Like, what other practices do you
especially if they're kind of going through a rut or not
Yeah.
Something's not clicking for them, what?
Yeah. I mean, I think the benefit that we have now is like, if I'll use baseball as an example. If you're in a slump, right? If you got to hit in 3 games and you're not hitting the ball hard, the benefit that we have now is video, right? Like, I think that, again, I'm aging myself back when I played. Like, you didn't have that. You just got in the cage and you worked. Now I can take a video of your swing and show and put it next to an Instagram reel where it's like, here's what you're doing wrong. Like, you don't have the knob going to the ball and you have to do this. And I think that you can introduce that in a way like, hey buddy, here's what I've noticed. And I'm just going to give you this video. And if you want to go work on it, great. But I think that when they see somebody else giving the advice or showing a video of like what they potentially could be doing wrong, it's so much better than coming from mom or dad, especially when they're your coach. And so, and I would just say, whether we like it or not, kids respond to that stuff now too. If you can say like, hey, sit down, I want to show you an Instagram reel. They're like, what? What? Right?
What is it?
Yeah. What is it? What is it? Oh, okay. I'll listen to it. I'll watch it. So I think that's super helpful. But, I think also just Max encouragement, as hard as that is at times, because if they are 0 for their last 12 and 3 of those spots came up in a chance to win the game, they're going to feel terrible about it, right? And you're going to feel terrible as a coach, as a dad, and just like, again, how do you come alongside them and be like, I know it's tough right now. Like, we're going to get through this. We got 17 games left in the season. Just think about what you're going to do those next 17 games. And here's something that might help us, right? So I think, just maybe showing encouragement, positivity, bringing other resources in that are going to help them get past whatever is happening right now. Their tough moment. I think that's super helpful in what your role as a parent, mentor, or coach.
Kind of going back to the business realm of sports, right? How did you get the opportunity to work at the Timberwolves?
I was a Milwaukee Bucks season ticket holder in Milwaukee. I graduated college in 1998. As I mentioned, even though I was a baseball guy, I loved hoops. I think it came from my mom. My mom was a really big basketball fan. She had 4 brothers. They were all big basketball fans. I remember just growing up watching Milwaukee Bucks games. And so then, with whatever little discretionary income I had when I graduated college, I was like, I'm buying Bucks tickets. And
I want to meet your mom.
Yeah,
She's awesome.
Yeah. And so the Bucks, in 1999, I bought season tickets. I was a season ticket holder through 2005. And I became friends with 2 of the guys that were the season ticket reps. Brad and Mike just became really good friends. They knew how much I loved the game. We all loved softball, golf. So we would, hang out from time to time. And when we knew we were pregnant with our first child, at the same time, Brad, who also ironically has 4 boys, was thinking about leaving the Bucks and going into a job for the Hawks. And so I'm like, what? You're going to move? Like, you can't do that, And so I knew that he was looking to move. And my wife said to me, again, like I would love to get back home. And I said, okay, this is probably real. Like I should start thinking about this. And so Brad and Mike got me in touch with a guy named Jeff Munichie from the Minnesota Timberwolves. If you've ever met Jeff, goes by Mune, to get me an interview in the corporate partnerships department. And it all worked out. And so Brad actually had pressed pause a little bit on his, but Brad and his family moved to Atlanta to join the Hawks when I moved our family to Minnesota in April of 2006. So he took a job with the Hawks. I took a job with the Timberwolves, and Mike stayed with the Bucks. And fast forward, a funny part to that story, it's 2017, and we are looking for a chief marketing officer at the Timberwolves. I was now the vice president of corporate partnerships, and Ethan Casson, who was the CEO at the time, knew of Mike from the Bucks, who became the chief digital officer, and thought he'd be a good fit. I said, yes, he'd be an amazing fit. Ironically, we were all on Destin, Brad, Mike, and myself and our wives, on a little, parent vacation. And I knew that I wanted to at least talk to him about it. We get to the first tee, and I was like, there's no way he's going to do this. He's been at the Bucks for 19 years. And I was like, Mike, we want to hire a chief marketing officer. Would you have any interest? He goes, it's really funny. I think that might be time for me to look. And I was like, what?
Wow.
And 4 months later, he was the chief marketing officer of the Timberwolves.
Crazy.
Now I left 9 months later to go to the 3M Open, but he's been up here. He's still there. He is part of the new regime. As you know, there's been a huge influx of ownership transition there, and he's doing awesome things there. And so that is a long-winded answer to your question of, what, got me involved at the Timberwolves and all of that. But it's, it was 13 years of just a great time. I mean, on the court, not so much. I mean, I saw 2 home playoff games in 13 years.
Wow.
That was the Jimmy Butler year, which we all like to try to forget.
Right.
4 Lynx championships, by the way. Like I do have 4 rings to
we
show
love
that.
our Lynx.
My first season was the 2006 Lynx season. It was the year that we drafted Simone Augustus. And then, obviously, it didn't go very well those first 4 years, but then we trade for Lindsay, we draft Maya Moore, we trade for Rebecca Brunson, and all that. The story was written after that. It was phenomenal. But just a great organization and people that, I still value as mentors and friends. And I'm super happy to see the success that they've been having the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So through your time with the Timberwolves and, the 3M Open, working with, NBA athletes and professional golfers on the PGA Tour, you probably get to meet a lot of people, but has there ever been like a fan moment where you're like, I cannot believe I'm meeting this person right now?
I mean, honestly, man, like, I was just having this conversation with a client this morning, like, and I know you guys have shared some similar experiences. Like, I can't believe this is life sometimes, right? Like these people that you grew up idolizing, as athletes, meeting Michael Jordan at a poker event, which, by the way, thank God I wasn't at his table because I would have lost a lot of money. Getting Charles Barkley to come to the 3M Open 3 years ago and going through that whole process and screwing up his flight and pickup, which is a funny story, which I'm happy to say for another day. Being able to become friends with Kyle Rudolph and people like that who you realize are just these amazing individuals. All of those are aha moments, being able to experience the Masters and the Ryder Cup and Super Bowls and NBA Finals and World Series, like all these things that you never, growing up on the south side of Milwaukee, coming from a split family, dream of ever going to, and then just being a part of. I think, and I say this to my 2 boys who want to get into sports, it shows the power of sports. It shows just like, when you sit back and think about just your life and your career and you can talk about these experiences are wonderful. There's shortcomings to it. We talked about the family aspect and not being able to be at home all the time. As you guys probably know, you don't get in sports to retire early, right? You're like, I'm not going to be retiring at 55 years old. Like I'm working.
That's okay, right?
I'm working probably till I can't work anymore. And that's okay as well. But yeah, I think, being able to experience these things with my family, being able to meet some of the people that we've met, being able to positively give back, to our communities through these jobs in sports, just makes it feel a little bit different. And I think very, to your point, sort of like a pinch me moment of like, wow, this is what we get to do each and every day.
Do you know someone who could benefit from this episode? If so, please take the time to share it with them. Whether it's an athlete, a coach, a parent, or just someone who loves inspiring stories, we want to get this message out, and we need you to help make that happen.
Well, my favorite story is when you played in the Pro-Am and people thought Max was Ricky Fowler.
I can see it.
So
Yeah,
you
I
should
can
share.
see
You
it.
should share this. This is great. The story.
Oh,
of
I
it.
mean, there was a few kids that came up to me and they're like, "Hey, Ricky, can I get your autograph?" And Ricky,
you were playing out of your mind.
I was
too,
playing
but-
well,
Yeah.
and I don't think Ricky was having his best
Well,
day.
you weren't in his group. You were just somewhere else on the course.
I was on. No, I was in his group.
You were in Ricky's group?
I was
Yeah.
in Ricky's group at the Pro-Am, and I was like, "I'm sorry, kids. Like, I'll sign something for you, but Ricky's down there."
They're like, Ricky, we want you.
That is
Multiple kids. I
amazing.
remember that. But the
Yeah.
best part is, Brax was our son, 3 at the time, came over, and Ricky was super sweet. Still not playing well, but was like so sweet. Signed his glove, gave it to him, and
Yeah.
we still have that
He
picture
still has
to the day.
Yeah,
That's
still
so
has
cool.
his signed glove that
Yeah.
he used that day.
He puts it on sometimes.
I appreciate that guy so much. I mean, whether he's playing well or he's not playing well, he will sign every last autograph and
Yeah.
make sure that he, impacts every kiddo that is just wanting to get a piece of him. I mean,
Yeah.
he's obviously struggled on the golf course the last 5, 6, 7 years, but he's still one of the most popular people on tour.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why, right? I mean, yes, it's the Puma orange and all of that, but at the same time, like once you get a chance to interact with him, you're a fan for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about him.
Yeah, kids just look up to him. I mean, I think when I was in high school is when he was getting on tour, and we were all wearing the orange Puma hats and everything.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
When it's such a, I mean, I didn't grow up with golf. I grew up, you played football, basketball, softball, and wrestling.
Yeah.
Those were our sports. And so
Yeah.
being exposed to the golf world is just a completely different dynamic, and being really competitive,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm not the best. The other day, I was like, Max, I'm never playing golf again. It's so hard. I was
I'm
so
like,
frustrated.
I didn't even say
because I'm
anything.
so
It was one of those
competitive.
moments. I'm not even going to say anything.
He's like, okay. But it is like, it's such a humbling sport, but yet you can make so many connections through the game. Like, it's
I mean,
wild.
it's number one, it's a lifelong sport, right? It's not something that you have to depend on athleticism to play. You can take a cart, like that's cool, right? I think that there's a reason why the popularity of golf, especially since COVID, has just exploded.
Yeah.
And I love to see the fact that how, and you guys know this from the foundation, like you can see how it's getting into young women a lot more. You can see how it's getting into different socioeconomic statuses. And that's just been amazing. We do the Golf for All Day at the 3M Open on Tuesday, where 500 kiddos from the Twin Cities come experience golf for the very first time. And yes, we have Kyle Rudolph and John Randall and Randall McDaniel and a number of great athletes there to just welcome them and spend time and say hi. And they love seeing that. But what I love is the fact that they get to put a club in their hand and try the game for the very first time. Or, by the way, not even grab a club, but know that, music is now a part of golf. Fashion is now a part of golf. And most importantly, the relationships are the biggest part of golf. And so, if they can leave there thinking well, golf's kind of cool, I should give that a try because of who I met, the conversations I had, that's what it's about.
Yeah,
Well, it's so awesome how much the Pioneer Club is giving back to helping more kids get those opportunities. And I know there's a lot of other charitable aspects of the Pioneer Club, but what does that kind of mean to you, the give back portion of the 3M Open?
I mean, it's honestly the reason why we do what we do, and every PGA Tour tournament does what they do. I mean, every PGA Tour tournament operates as a nonprofit and gives back a number of dollars to charity. For us, it's $9 million over the first 7 years.
Wow.
And so, it's wonderful that, we choose charities that are good stewards of the budget, but also that give us an opportunity to go and volunteer and have boots on the ground. It's important for us to make an impact, whether it's through the Pioneer Club, whether it's through our corporate sponsors, whether it's through our volunteers, 1,650 of them that volunteer every year at the 3M Open, to be able to just say, this is why we're a part of the 3M Open in golf that matters. And so, it's the lifeblood of the PGA Tour. And so it's just awesome to be able to be a part of something like that goes far greater than crowning a champion on Sunday and also providing $50 million of economic impact for the region. All of that is super important, but equally as important is just the number of lives that we've been able to affect. And for us, it's 1.25 million youth and young adults through the first 7 years through our giving. And so we're excited what that's going to look like in 5 years.
So I want to ask, because I love marketing and event planning. This is on another level, right? You are planning years in advance. How do you mentally prepare for that week, right? Because you can't control the weather. There are things that are out of your control. How do you get in the mindset of okay, we're gonna do this thing and we're gonna evolve it?
It's a reason why, the hairline and the grays, like it has been my most humbling part of this job.
Yeah.
I've always been okay at sales, right? I can relate. But when you're trying to compete in what you guys know is a hugely competitive market, right? I mean, not only do you have the Twins, the St. Paul Saints, unbelievable fall festivals throughout the course of the summer. But as you guys well know, our biggest competitor is the cabin and vacations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are 12 sacred weekends in the Minnesota calendar year, and we happen to fall on one of those.
Right.
And so to your question around, like, how do you market that? I think we've become smarter around the different groups that we're trying to attract. I feel like we're always going to get the core golf fan because we have 156 of the best golfers in the world coming to the 3M Open.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we might not have Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy each and every year, but we got, this year we had 32 of the top 70 golfers in the official world golf ranking. For a full field event like us, that's remarkable.
How does that? Do they get to pick, or how does that all work?
I mean, a golfer is an independent contractor, so they get to determine their own schedule. Now, there's a ranking of, Scotty Scheffler gets to play in any tournament that he wants because he's number one on the priority list. It basically goes from like one.
Have you met him? Have you ever met him?
Scotty? I have, yep. Awesome individual, as awesome as you think. Yeah.
Cool.
So the priority ranking is from 1 to like 250, and so we have 156 people in our event. So if the priority ranking of 1 to 156 all wanted to play in the 3M Open, they'd get in. It's actually not true because we have 8 sponsor exemptions, but you get the gist of it, right? Yeah. When somebody decides not to play, like a Scotty, then it goes down to the number 2 golfer and then all of that, right? And so we fill our event on that priority list. So for us, and not to get too inside baseball here, but for when that other golf tournament tour you heard about, maybe Live Golf a few years ago, we can say the word now, the tour made a bunch of changes in the schedule and just the way that they do their playoffs and how you keep your tour card, right? And so for us, we're in one of those 2 tournaments that's after the British Open and right before the FedEx Cup playoffs. And so we've become a very important tournament for a lot of players who want to make the FedEx Cup playoffs. The top 70 make the playoffs. Yep. The top 50 get exempted into the signature events the next year, and the signature events are the ones with the $25 to $30 million purses. It's a lot of money. So they want to get in those. The top 30 get into the Tour Championship later on in August down in Atlanta. And then if you're on that top 100, you get to guarantee your card for next year. So if you're 120 or so, like, you're playing our tournament because you want to either keep your card, you want to make the FedEx Cup playoffs, you want to be in the signature event. And if you're not choosing our tournament, it's because you maybe played the British week before and you want to play the Wyndham after us or whatever that is. But our field has been so good because of the way that this schedule is now lined up. And so, the player gets to choose whatever tournament they want to be in, but they're getting to our tournament and be like, I have to play because I want to secure my spot in that ranking, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah.
So to bring it all back to the marketing question around, like, what has that been like? The core golf fan we're always going to get, right? Then I think we're going after what I call the golf curious, the event seeker, somebody who really enjoys Top Golf or, Launchpad or some of these new things that are popping up, right? What is the hook to get them? And I think it's something like our Stilly Party Deck or our concert that we have on Saturday night, something that gets them to the tournament and then realize, like, oh, this golf thing's pretty cool, but I'm having the time of my life because I'm enjoying a beverage. The weather's great. There's a concert. I get to do this fun activation. And so that's been like a core demo that we're going after. And then the third one is families. Like, we're, trying to do a better job and leaning more into families because, as you guys well know, with younger kids, like, to try to find something for families that is reasonably priced and you can keep their attention for an afternoon is really tough to find. So for us, kids 15 and under are free, courtesy of our great partners at Cub. And so you can go as a family of 5 for $130. And then you can go get like a family 4-pack of hot dogs, water, and chips for another $20, $30 and walk around, tire them out, have a phenomenal day, come on Sunday, Family Day, when we have all the mascots. And last year we had Blippi and Mika. If you
Oh
know
my
who those
gosh.
folks
Oh,
are.
yeah.
Of course,
Yep,
yes.
yep. And so this year,
If you had Miss Rachel, our youngest son would be. He'd
Really?
be. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to think of that. We're making the calls right now for who we're gonna bring this year.
She
So,
got Woman of the Year.
She did?
So, yeah, Miss Rachel.
Miss
She's-
Rachel. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to look into that one. Thank you for that. And so, like, what are we doing the things necessary to attract those families, right? And
Yeah.
so, like, you put that all into the marketing mix. Then you go and find the right media partners to go highlight that. What does your social content and creative look like? And oh my goodness, right? And so, I think we're doing a good job of it. We could certainly be better. We don't have an unlimited budget for any of this, so we got to get really creative when it comes to all of that stuff. But the two metrics that we look at are, is our attendance and ticket sales picking up year over year? And the answer is yes. And then secondly, what is the perception of the 3M Open? And I think when you talk to a person, when they come multiple years, they're like, this feels a little bit bigger. Like, it looks better this year. You can keep hearing that. Whoever's sitting in this chair, 10, 15 years from now, hopefully is continuing on building on that. And now it truly is the Minnesota event of the summer, where there's 25,000 people there every year, or every day. And it's like, wow, this has become a really, really big event.
I don't think there's a better finishing hole for a competitive golf tournament than the 18th hole at TPC Twin City. Like, just that go for it in two or hit it way left. I heard that's a better birdie chance than like is. Going for it. Between that and just your experience with some of these tour players coming in, are there any just like crazy stories that you're like, I can't believe this just happened, whether it was like a Ricky Fowler story or Tony Finau, that you're just like, whether it was a request from them or just something crazy that happened that comes to mind?
Yeah. What's so funny is that tour players are pretty benign, man. Like there are not a crazy, now, like, I could sit here and talk all day about NBA player requests. Like, that's way different, right? I mean, the things that Jimmy.
If you have one of those stories.
I mean, just Jimmy. Like, I think it's okay to speak negatively about Jimmy at times, because Jimmy didn't treat us very well, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler. I mean, but like, just the requests that he had, if we wanted him to meet a corporate partner, were just egregious. Like, how we treated things at the Timberwolves was like we were a family, all for one, right? And so, like, if we were going to pitch, a big client, which is what this instant was, our expectation, and by the way, it was at the facility. So, like,
you're not
convenient,
if
right?
you're coming to practice,
right.
Which is what was happening, like, all we're asking for is 30 minutes of your time before practice. But we had to send a black car, to pick him up, and do a couple things while he was there, and then I guess compensate as well. And to me, it just was like, this isn't what the Timberwolves family is all about, right? Now, for every bad one, I have 100 good ones.
For sure.
Kevin Love, on the plane ride back from a game against the Clippers, which he won at the buzzer, ironically. Mrs. Love, Mom Love had baked 250 chalk chip cookies that he brought on the plane and passed out to everybody and the travel staff. And that was like,
sounds like the Squirt A hockey.
Cool, Mom. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
But like, how great was that, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, the cookies were amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
And so, like, just so many fun stories like that. I'm trying to think of a golf story. There honestly isn't one. I mean, I have a ton of heartwarming stories and great stories about these golfers that want to meet Braxton from M Health Fairview, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with, or other kiddos that made a request through Make-A-Wish that they're like, when can I be there? And then the PGA Tour Wives Association, them leaning in. So, just hundreds of stories around that, but nothing crazy. I mean, I'm happy to tell my Charles Barkley story if you want to hear it quickly.
Let's hear it.
Because like that is a super fun story. I mean, that was thanks to Kyle Rudolph. I mean, Kyle made the introduction to Charles, and we used to do this thing called the Compass Challenge on Wednesday night prior to the tournament starting on Thursday, where we'd have celebrities come in and play 3 exhibition holes.
Yes,
we got
I
to
caddied
caddy
for that.
Yes, you did.
And
yes.
I didn't know what club to give him. So
You had Rondé Barber.
I had
and
Rondé Barber,
I
who's
had
so nice.
Rudolph's bag.
Yep. Okay, so you guys caddied for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it was the year before Rondé was here. Then when Kyle lined up Charles, and so it's probably 2 weeks, you guys, before the event, and I have Charles's number, and I call him, no answer. I leave him a voicemail, nothing. I have his email, which I won't share. Oh, it's probably not even there anymore because it's probably changed. But the handle was Fat Boy. Like it was Fat Boy at. And I was like, that's got to be, and no bounce back. Like,
Yep,
and then he actually responded to an email later on, which I'll get to. But I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing that's his email address. And so he doesn't respond. I'm not kidding you guys. For the 14 days leading up to it, for 12 days. So it's the Monday before.
And you're marketing that he's coming at this point?
Yeah, he was. We already put him on there that he was part of the Compass Challenge because Kyle's like, he'll come. I'm like, well, great. I had tried to line up a flight, all of that.
Right.
So it's the Monday before. Monday night, I call. He doesn't answer, but I get a text back like 15 minutes later. He said, I'll be there. I arrive at 8. I said, great. That's Monday night. I'm like, okay, the event is Wednesday at noon because he's playing in the Pro-Am.
Yep.
And then the event is Wednesday night. And I'm like, great. So I'm like, I'll have a service for you, take you to Lowe's Hotel at the time. So it's 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and I'm getting ready for everything. And, I got everything lined up, and I get a call from Lowe's Hotel. And they're like, is this Mike? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, hi, I have Mr. Barkley here, and he's not very happy right now. I go, what do you mean he's here? He goes, he's here right now. His flight landed at 8 a.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, when he said I arrive at 8, he didn't have the event didn't start until Wednesday at noon. So I just assumed he was arriving at 8 p.m.
Oh no.
But he came in at 8 a.m. And so I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, have him there. He goes, oh, he went up to his room. I think he's okay, but he's not happy. I had my wife go and buy the most expensive box of cigars at the local smoke shop that she could find, drive it down to Lowe's Hotel with a note that she wrote, and I love her to death, but she has the worst handwriting. So I said, babe, please print.
Dentists usually, and hygienists usually do it, yeah.
I'm like, please print very slowly. Like, Charles, I'm sorry, I call him, no answer. Text him, no answer. Emailed him. He emailed back saying, like, I got the box of cigars, thanks. That was it. I texted him, like, Charles, I got your email. Everything good for tomorrow? Like, I'll have a car pickup at 10:30. Nothing. 10:30 that night, I get a text back saying, like, car's coming at 10:30? I said, yes. He's like, okay, great. I tell the driver, make sure you text me when you pick him up. He texts me, he's in the car, he gets to the golf course. I get out the car, I go on bended knee, and I'm like, Chuck, I am so sorry, man. He goes, man, don't sweat the small stuff. It's all good. I'm like, you could have said that like 48 hours ago. Like, I'm sweating bullets over here.
And you got so many other things going on for the tournament.
I mean, it is one small thing of the 114 that thing going on, right?
Man.
Now, needless to say, he goes and has the time of his life. He stops and takes a picture for every single person during the Pro-Am, during the Compass Challenge. Later on that night at midnight, I get a video message from a partner who's at Lowe's Hotel. He stands up and holds court and gives a 5-minute speech of how much he's enjoyed his time, that the 3M Open is unbelievable. He pays the entire bar tab for the entire night, and just has a great time, and flies out the next day, and he hasn't responded to a text since. Actually, I take that back. He's responded to one text. Do you remember when the Timberwolves beat Denver in Game 7, and they interviewed Anthony Edwards, and he said, I got to come to Minnesota, and Edwards said, bring your ass?
Yes.
Yep.
He goes, I haven't been to Minnesota in 20 years. Right when that went to commercial break, I texted him. I go, Charles, you ain't been to Minnesota in 20 years? You were just here last summer for the 3M Open. He wrote back, LOL, my bad. And that was it. That's the only other time I heard back from Chuck.
Oh, my gosh.
But, just stories like that, again, to our earlier comment around, like, just what this job has done. My kids had a chance to meet him and take a picture, and, just stuff like that has been really cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, I think that's an awesome way to end it with that great story. And, we appreciate your partnership and friendship over the years. Yeah. And we hope the 3M Open just continues to have great success in everything that you're doing for the community. And we just thankful that we're have a chance to be a part of it.
We're going to take a lot of those parenting tips because
those are
Brax has a game Thursday. I'm going to keep my mouth shut on the way home in the car.
Yeah. Well, it's my pleasure. I mean, the advice is what it is, but I think even more importantly, what you guys are doing with the InSports Foundation and just providing these opportunities for kiddos throughout the course of the year, whether it's on the golf course, baseball field, football field, wherever that is. As I know you and I have had a chance to chat about this, Max, and our support of it. It just lines up so well with what we're doing around youth and young adults. And, at times where it feels really tough, what you guys are doing, just know it's making a difference. And without partnerships like these and foundations like yours, some of these kiddos don't have a chance. And I know you've seen the rewards of that. So kudos to what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Athletes in Sports podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more from inspiring athletes, we encourage you to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on all of our social media channels.